All right, so I'm going to take a time out from working this morning here on this, making a writing desk for my daughter. And I'm using bamboo, and I thought it might be helpful to show some of you who might be interested in doing something like this, how to do the mortise and tenon joint for bamboo, and how to keep this from being, from splitting. Bamboo is really strong, but at the same time, it's also very delicate. It splits very easily. Now I want to show you how to make this real nice tight joint using the mortise and tenon. If I was just to cut this, a tenon, okay, like I have here on this, and try to plop it into the bamboo, there's no question that bamboo would split. So what I do is I fill it with a core. You can see you can show them on this side. There's a dowel, and I make the dowel, all right, and I just fill it down to this node, so that when let me show you this one over here. So when I cut the tenon, I'm actually cutting it. I'm sorry, the mortise. I'm actually cutting it into the dowel. You see that? All right, and the way I make the dowel is I just use a block plane and a farrier's rasp to round out just a square stock, like a 2x2, and then I just use the block plane and a farrier's rasp to round that out. I'll do a separate video on that so you can see it. It's also how I make hatchet handles and hammer handles and things like that. Now, when you're working with the bamboo, after you get it marked, I'm going to show you really quick on this side. When I work on the inside, you'll notice you don't have to worry too much. It doesn't have to be quite as tight. It's that surface area that you want tight. When I do the tenon, what I find is that the mortise, I keep saying tenon, the mortise, if I use a rounded chisel, it's actually a lot easier. For whatever reason, I use the rounded chisel, and then I square it up with a square chisel on the sides. It just somehow, for some reason, it works better with the bamboo. The other thing I wanted to show you was on your stock, when you're making your tenon, you're going to have to round this out. I don't know if you can see that from the top. You see how I've rounded this? Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to have a really large gap. You're not going to have that really nice tight, you can see again over here, you see it, really nice tight joint. And that's only because it's been rounded. You can see it right here. All right, now the way it's very much like it's a coping, just like you would do coping for molding. Let me show you on one here. I've done this one all, so let me show you on one. Let me just grab it over here. I'm going to show you on this piece right here how I do that. Okay, and again, now this is the inside. This is the outside, so it's really the outside that I'm worried about mostly, and that's what I'll show you right now, just while I'm sitting here. Okay, so what I do is, again, I use that rounded one. Okay, and with the rounded one, come on, Jet, I can go ahead and just start to round that out. All right. And then once I get this rounded, it takes a little bit. In case you're wondering, too, all the tape, I didn't really cut myself doing this stuff. I was making a flute for my daughter and burned myself drilling holes. All right, so round that out. Now you're also going to have to round it out in here, because this will hit and you'll have a big gap. So I just take the rounded one and I just take little bites, careful not to hit the surface. I don't want to hit this. I want to get inside, and I just go all the way along like that. Okay, until I round it all the way out along the edge. And then I like to use a chainsaw file. And with that chainsaw file, you can see this one's a very start. You can just put that in here and so this way, I think one of these is done. Yeah, this one's fine. So this way, when I go ahead and put it in, I can get a nice tight joint. You see that? Without it hitting. So just a couple of tips to working with bamboo. It takes a lot more time because you have to be delicate with it, and you got to take some extra steps, but it's so beautiful that to me it's worth it, especially when you're doing it for your daughter. So Send me questions if you have them. I'm always here to help.